My ultimate goal is to have anything that's deemed impossible. If it's deemed impossible, I want it.
In 1991, a 9-year-old in Chicago had an idea. Dwyane Wade Jr. witnessed the impact of the Chicago Bulls' first championship run on his community, and in that exhibition of excellence, found his purpose. After a cool 10,000 hours of practice and a memorable Final Four run later, Dwyane Wade was on his way to the NBA. But he soon realized that his ambitions stretched far beyond the court, and business became as exciting as ball. So he built a team, honed his ideas, and pursued his passions. In the decade and a half that followed, he'd launch multiple brands and win multiple championships, sign a lifetime deal, and retire as one of the greatest to ever play the game. And it all started with one idea. How did your parents' professional life inform your career aspirations?
My dad drove, he delivered boxes. I don't want to diminish what he did, but he worked at a company who would deliver packages all around downtown Chicago. And I thought the job was amazing. Just seeing him get up every day and go to work towards something. I didn't really know the difference between what he was doing or really how much money it was bringing in. I just knew the community we were living in and how we were living. And so that inspired me more than what my father did. Growing up in the inner city and growing up less than and not having a lot of things that you need and not just want, it just makes you as a kid, just make you say, okay, I'm gonna change this. I wanna be the one to kind of help my family, get out of this situation.
At what age did you become aware that you had an extraordinary gift?
My father always put me, if I was in 4th grade, I played with the 6th graders. But when you play up and you're small, you never really, I wasn't good enough to be better than them. And so it wasn't until I had to go down and play in high school. My freshman year, I played sophomore. And then my sophomore year, I was gonna play varsity, just move up. I actually went to my high school coach and I said, can you let me go back and play sophomore with my age group? Once I got down there, I realized, I was like, oh wait. I'm so much better than these guys. Just reading the game, I was able to just I can read 2 passes ahead. It was just so much slower. I was so used to playing with stronger, bigger, faster, more athletic, smarter players. And so around that time, I realized that I was like, okay, well maybe I got a little something, and I just kept working it from there.
At that point, how much did you see out into your career?
So to go through a timeline, at 9 years old, I knew what I wanted to do. All right, I'm a Bulls fan. It's the greatest team in the world, the greatest player in the world, and Michael Jordan. When the Bulls won their first championship in 90-91, I was like, that's what I want to do. And it wasn't just because of the basketball side of it. The reason I wanted to do it was because of the way that my family was celebrating. We felt like winners. The whole community, the whole city of Chicago, we all, for once, we felt like winners. And so at 9, the idea came, but it really didn't get a real goal until I was 17 years old. I was like, okay, I want to go to the NBA. I really want to go to the NBA. Let me now put the work in to see if I can make it.
When you say put the work in, what does that mean at 17?
In the summers, don't go hang with your friends. You don't get to do that. If you want to get to that level, you can't do what everybody else is doing. I had a high school coach, assistant coach. I talk about him all the time. His name is Gary Adams. And Gary Adams came to me and asked me, do I want to be great? And I was like, yeah, I want to be great. He said, do you know what it takes to be great? Obviously, I didn't know. He said, it's going to take you doing unconventional things, uncomfortable things, and putting a lot of work in. And so I said, all right, I'm in for it. And every day in the summer, he would come and pick me up, 8 o'clock in the morning. He told me I could never be late. If I was late one time, he would leave me, and he's never coming back to pick me up again. That right there just started me on my path to understand how to be a professional, how to show up every day, how to show up on time. Once I started falling in love with the actual work, you got to fall in love with the work. And even though it's hard, you just got to fall in love with the grind. And once I started falling in love with that, like, that's when it was like, okay.
Did you, in your own head at least, have other options open that you were thinking, well, if this doesn't work out, then there are these other things, or?
Yeah. I mean, I told my mom, like, you know, like my mom would ask me, she'd say, baby, what else you gonna be? I'm like, oh, I'll be a doctor. I wanted to be a hooper, no, like, I wanted to be a hooper. It was no, like, it really wasn't no plan B. I wanted to be a hooper. I wanted to be an NBA player. I wanted to be great. And when I was 17 years old, they asked you in school, in your yearbook, and they say, in 20 years, what do you want to be in life? And at 17 years old, I said, in 20 years, I want to be retired from the game of basketball as one of the greatest to ever play, to spend time with my wife and kids. And I retired 20 years later as one of the greatest to ever play, spend time with my wife and kids. I put that vision out there, and 20 years later, that actually came right back and happened the way that I wanted it to.
After turning heads in high school, Wade earned a scholarship to play at Marquette University. Before long, he was a nationally recognized breakout star. And in his junior year, Wade led Marquette to the Final Four and was named first-team All-American, cementing himself as a can't-miss pro prospect. He would be selected 5th overall in the 2003 NBA draft by the Miami Heat, signing a multi-million-dollar rookie contract. Overnight, you went from having almost nothing to having almost everything. What was that experience like?
I don't know, man. It was, like, it felt unreal. And I remember after the press conference in Miami, the next day, they put us up in the Mandarin Oriental. I had Zaire there, he was a baby. The whole family went to sleep. And I went back out on the balcony just to, like, have a moment to myself to be like, yo, like, go pinch myself. I realized at that moment that I worked my butt off to get drafted, and that was the easiest part of it. Now the work actually starts. And I got scared. I got scared because I didn't have anybody to, like, I had nobody to call. Like, my dad wasn't in my life like that. My mom was, you know, in and out of prison around that time. Nobody can come and rub my head and tell me it's gonna be all right. I was like, I'm the 5th pick in the draft. I just signed a deal for millions of dollars, which I don't even know what that means right now. And it's a lot gonna be expected of me as a basketball player. I have a son, I'm a father, I have a wife. I'm 21 years old. Like, so I was scared, but the only thing I knew at that time was the only thing that got me there, and it was hard work. It was being professional. It was all these bullet points and these pillars that I learned with Gary Adams. And I just stuck to that. And I was like, well, I'm just gonna do this. And so, here we are.
Did you have a plan for the money?
I had no plan for the money. I didn't even know, I didn't know none of, like, I come from, first of all, growing up, my dad giving us like $5 for lunch. My mom and I used to go and, like, we sell cans, so we'll go and pick all the cans up in the alleys and just go through Chicago and find cans, and we'll go sell them, and that's how we make our money, play a little lottery. I get to college, and now I'm only getting like $220 a month. That's what we got from, you know, in our financial aid we got, but then we got $220 a month. And then I get drafted and I signed a deal for $10 million. What do I do with that? I don't know. I don't have nobody really in my life like that I trust. No one in my life has ever dealt with finances in front of me. We've never had a conversation about finances. So I really didn't know what to do with all this money. So I enjoyed it.
Thankfully, there's been more that's come after.
Yeah, because I would have been in trouble.
Wade became a breakout star in the league. He led the Heat to the playoffs in his first year, became an All-Star in his second, and was named NBA Finals MVP when he brought a championship to Miami in his third. But an injury scare in 2007 made him realize that basketball was fleeting and that life after the game could come sooner than he expected. So he teamed with Lisa Joseph, who became his business manager, and began to build the brand of D. Wade. How old were you when you started to realize that you had to manage not only yourself as an athlete and as a player, but also as a brand?
I probably was around 24.
Really? Okay.
24. I had just won a championship in my third year, and the next season, I dislocated my shoulder. And that was the moment where everything changed for me, because I realized how quick the game could get taken away from me. I remember calling my agent, rest in peace, Harry Thomas, And I remember getting on the phone with him and I remember saying, hey, this is like what I'm doing now is not enough. Like I want more. Like I want to build a team. Like I need people around me to take my ideas and make them bigger and better.
How did you go about building a team around yourself to help create that support system?
Yeah, that was the hardest thing to do. And that's still the hardest thing for a lot of, I can say athletes, but a lot of people to find people around them that can make them better. My agent was the first piece to that, Henry Thomas. And the second piece was Lisa Joseph. After my first year, I started getting like a lot of attention. And my agent was like, wait, this happened a little sooner than I thought. We need somebody with you here in Miami. And Lisa was the one who I kind of leaned on to help me kind of like, even when I would go in meetings as a young, I didn't know how to speak up. I didn't know if my ideas was really right. And she was the one that kind of helped pull it out of me and kind of gave me the confidence in those rooms. She was the one who would speak up for me at first, until I got the confidence to, say my own ideas and say what I don't like. And it just started growing piece by piece from there. I want to have a career in business being myself. And when I'm not creatively inspired, sometimes I dye my hair, I get tattoos, I paint my nails. I do anything that brings out my creativity or makes me feel in a creative space.
What was the process of bringing the brand of D Wade into focus in your own head?
I didn't go into it like, oh, I want to build a brand. I really went into like, oh, I saw Michael Jordan doing this stuff. I wanted the Gatorade deal. I want a Nike deal. And then from there, as you start going through that and you start getting more deals, and then I got a T-Mobile deal, and then I got Pepper's Farm deal, and I got all these things, and you're sitting there with like 7 to 8 different partnerships that's paying you a lot of money. You try to like, okay, like let's now put this all together and make what people call a brand. And so the only way that we knew to do that was to bring everybody together. And so I started doing brand summits. I have some representatives from the Nike brand, from the Gatorade brand, from all the brands that I was the face of with my team, my CA team, my agent, Lisa. We were working with schedules together. We were working with, hey, if this is the colorway of the shoe gonna come out, then this is what we're gonna do. Like we started working together, and then it started feeling like a brand. I started that 13 years ago.
Did you have any mentor in business at that time?
So my mentor in business was Magic Johnson. I knew that, like, I was like, well, I want to be like MJ in basketball. I want to be like Magic Golf. And my mom was actually very close to Magic's mom through the church. And so my mom reached out to Christine Johnson. Christine reached out to Magic and said, call your little brother. And he did. And I flew out to LA 2 summers in a row, sat down, met with him, talked to him, asked questions.
What were the questions that you asked him at first?
How did you get so rich after basketball? I'm young, and I'm like 25, 26. He didn't make his money in basketball. He's built his wealth away from the game. Magic got into Starbucks early, right? I'm like, Magic, how did you get into Starbucks? You know what I mean? Like, how did that happen? So just asking those questions and him giving me the answers back, and I just took notes of, of how you needed to be. One thing we know about Magic is, we always see the guy with a smile on his face, right? Whenever he's in the room, whenever he's on TV, you feel his light, you feel his life. And, he kind of released me just like Shaq did as well. Those was the 2 most important people in my business journey, Shaq and Magic. They kind of released me to be me. That right there started my process to thinking outside the box, to thinking that none of my ideas are stupid, to utilizing my team in the right way. Magic, he pointed out that he felt that I had good people around me that believed in me, but they needed direction from me. There's no way I was gonna be able to build what I wanted if the direction didn't come from me, if the ideas didn't come from me. And so I started sitting on planes, having quiet time, and just coming up with ideas of things I wanted to see and things I possibly wanted to be a part of. My ideas float around in my brain for weeks, sometimes months. Once the idea comes and it keeps coming, I'm a firm believer in then saying it out loud, saying it to someone, putting the onus on myself to turn that idea into reality.
In 2009, you signed with Brand Jordan, which for many athletes is kind of the pinnacle.
Yeah, that was.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
In 2012, as you are peaking in your career, you made a very sort of unorthodox, unusual move in signing with Li-Ning. What motivated you, and how did that play out in your head?
Michael Jordan motivated me to do it because he had his own brand. I started thinking about, at some point my career ends, this contract ends, this money ends, this relationship ends, because I've seen it. Or it just becomes a merch deal or whatever, right? And I was 30 years old, just come off a championship, and I got a big decision to make. Do I re-sign with Jordan, make good money for the next 3 years? Because at 33, at the Nike, they don't offer you, like, not too many guys gonna get a deal past 33. Once I got the deals coming in from Li-Ning and Anta and all these places that was reaching out, I was like, I'm gonna take a chance on myself. It was a tough decision at first to make it, to leave Jordan brand and like to leave the coolness and go somewhere where no one was gonna rock my shoes, no one was gonna know I had shoes in the States and all these things. But I wanted to build something that was bigger than me. And it was about the future. It was about the, I eventually signed a lifetime deal. It was about that. It was about this word legacy. And I just knew it was gonna take a lot of work to build, because I was at Converse before for 6 years trying to help build that. The basketball division ended up closing down.
Yeah, what kind of work does one have to put in to establish themselves in such a big but also distant market?
Well, the 2008 Olympics was in China. I played pretty well on that gold medal team, but Kobe Bryant was the biggest thing over there. And Kobe had started going to China maybe 2-3 years before the Olympics. The thing about China is they want to know that you care about their culture. They want to know that you're not just there to make a quick buck. I had to go in and really try to learn about the culture and learn about the people. Just going to all the smallest cities and speaking and camps and just all these things, just really embed myself in that community. And that was something that I seen from Kobe that was important.
When you look back now, a decade later, do you feel like that decision, aside from being very lucrative, has been transformative for your brand?
Most important business decision I made to date was signing with Li-Ning. That one move, once I was not afraid to make it, now I'm not afraid to make any move. I was like, oh, I'm making more. Like I want more hard decisions like this. And so it's kind of started it all for me.
As Wade continued to make business moves off the court, he was in his prime on it. Fellow superstars LeBron James and Chris Bosh joined him in Miami in 2010, and the trio won back-to-back championships in 2012 and 2013. In the years that followed, Wade would cement himself as an NBA icon, ultimately making the All-Star team 13 times in his storied 16-year career. How far into your playing career did you start to become aware of retirement and that there was sort of an end at some point?
For me, I don't know if everybody would tell the truth. You know when you're not as good as you once was. The media don't have to tell you. The coaches don't have to tell you about not giving you play. You feel it. And I started feeling like, damn, I can't get there like I used to, right? And so that's when I started to be like, okay, how am I gonna exit this game? You know what I mean? Like I wanna exit gracefully. I started trying to plan it in my mind around 2017.
Okay.
That's when I knew it was coming close, because I was now hopping around. I left Miami after 13. I went to Chicago. I did that. Now I'm in Cleveland. I'm like, okay, I've seen this movie before. And I knew that no matter what, I wanted to end it in Miami.
To go from being one of the best people that have ever done a thing and then be venturing into sort of the unknown, was that frightening?
Yes. Yes. And they let me out the doors in the NBA with 3 NBA championships, with brand deals. And so think about someone who gets, let out the door after 2 years or 3 years, or do not have those achievements in a sense, because you walk out with your achievements that it means something. But I was scared. I doubt myself all the time. I don't doubt myself out loud all the time, but in private, I doubt myself all the time. The fear of letting doubt control me makes me step outside my box and do things over and over that I never thought I would.
Wade's future was uncertain, but his competitive fire and hardworking spirit remained intact. Soon enough, the brand deals he left the game with didn't suffice. Wade wanted to build a new business of his own. So in addition to joining the NBA broadcast on TNT, Wade acquired a stake in the Utah Jazz, founded his own wine company, Wade Cellars, and created a Babycare brand proudly with his wife, Gabrielle Union. But Wade quickly learned that the business world is a whole other league, and just like the NBA, there are no shortcuts. He was back to being a rookie.
Once again, it's like, okay, I don't know what to do really. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna go back to the basics because this is what got me where I am. So the basics is this. Where are your weaknesses at? Okay, what is the possible job opportunities in this space? Okay, work on your weaknesses. So if these job opportunities come, you're ready for them. And so I knew that I had an opportunity to be on TV. People told me my whole career, oh, you may be on TV. I think you got a good personality. So I was like, okay, well, first thing I did after I went to therapy is I went and hired me a vocal coach. And so I put in the work.
There's a laundry list of celebrities who have had very lucrative liquor brands. Ryan Reynolds and George Clooney.
Very lucrative.
Puff and Jay. And there are less players that have had that kind of success within wine.
Mm-hmm.
What drew you to that space?
It just felt like it was me. Wine is a connector. And I like connecting with people. It wasn't about the dollar. I didn't know anything about the business. You know, I just knew that I wanted to build something for the future that excited me. I was excited to get into an industry that wasn't accessible to my community, right? Like this is not accessible like that in the inner city. And the Paul Meyer family, which, you know, who makes my wine, we just connected, like we just vibed. And I was like, I don't know a lot about wine, but I know I like these guys. And so that's kind of how we started off. Like, let's do a project together. Let's do one wine. Let's see how it goes. And that's how we started, 2012 Cabernet.
You're now 8 years into the business. Where do you feel like it is in its maturity?
Oh, we like babies. We got a long way to go to build out what it is the vision was, right? To really make it accessible. We're getting to that point now where people are starting to understand what our brand is about. They get a chance to obviously taste the wines, and they get a chance to hear the story in the background. And so people are starting to fall in love a little bit with our brand. And so we're at the very early stages of building what this future in this space looks like.
One thing I was wondering, it's Wade Cellars, but you have other brands that don't have your name associated with it. How do you decide when is the right time to utilize?
Yeah, it's a big conversation. Like, I wanted to take my name off this wine plenty of times. And my team, when they was like,
really?
Yeah. Everyone don't like Dwyane Wade. I don't care how cool I think I am. And so I didn't want people to be turned away by the name. I wanted you to really get the chance to experience the wine. It's a stigma that comes with an athlete or a celebrity endorsing certain things, especially in the industry that y'all know I didn't go to school for and I ain't spent a lot of time on. And so I wanted to take my name off of it, but you know, my team felt it was good that I keep it on.
Last year, you acquired a minority stake in the Utah Jazz. Has being on the other side changed your feelings about the sort of relationship between players and the owners?
Yes and no. When you play, you just know that side. You know, the player side, when it's a star, you ask for, you know, better players, you ask for whatever, you just want it. You don't even care how they got to do it, you just want it. When you get on the other side, you get to see how much money you got to play with. You get to see from year to year what you can do and what you can't do. It's a cutthroat business, and it sucks. As much as you want to bring everybody into the office and tell them everything, some players don't want to hear it. That's the one thing I'm seeing on this side as well. You think the players want to hear everything. They don't. Like, I thought they did. I'm like, yo, I'm going to be on the other side, and I'm going to tell them, I'm going to keep it real. They don't want you to keep it real. Some players just want to know what they want to know. And so it's tougher than you think when you're a player.
A year into being an owner, aside from winning more games and winning more championships, which is obviously the goal of anyone.
Yes.
What are the changes that you are hoping to affect, for your legacy?
It's been important for me, away from being inside the Jazz arena, that when I've had the microphone, I've had time to speak about the world moving forward and evolving and the way the mindsets, right? Like, I have a 14-year-old transgender daughter at home. It's time to move the conversation forward. It's trying to push it forward. Because I'm there for a reason, and I don't want to just be a shiny toy that's brought out to wave to the crowd. I want to, be able to affect, real change and start real conversations. And on the ownership side, from a basketball standpoint, I want them to understand to win a championship on the court, you have to build a championship organization first. And it starts at the top, right? And it goes all the way to every department, how people are treated. Then we can get to the court part, which is the hardest part. And so that's a part of the goal for me. I think my biggest advantage as a creative or entrepreneur is probably my people skills. That's why I walk into any room with confidence, because I know that I could find something in common with anyone in the room, because I always keep my ears open and I'm always asking questions.
You and your wife, Gab Union, have recently co-founded a new company, Proudly.
Yeah.
How is working with family like that?
It has its ups, it has its positives, and then it has its challenges. Great ideas come from needs, right? Like it was a need. It's a need in our life, it's a need in the world.
And this came from you guys recently having a child and...
Yeah, like going out and trying to find all the products and everything we need for our child, and knowing that our child have different needs than what we're seeing on the shelves.
How would you describe the difference between how you and Gab approach business and brand?
Gab is a little bit more like own it. She own everybody. I'm a little bit more lax when it comes to the imperfectness of human beings. Like I let things slide a little bit more than Gab. My wife is own it. In the midst of that, I think what we do share is I want to not have all the cake. We want to share the cake. We want to enjoy the party with other people.
What do you think the key is to being a good manager?
You have to know when to lead, you have to know when to follow. And so on my team, I do a lot of leading, but I do a lot of following. It's in times where I have to listen. Just by playing team sports, I've played so many different roles. Like I've been a bench guy that's been like, yay, here go your towel and your water. I've been a star, I've been a second guy, I've been so many different things. And so I know to have success, that it's about sacrifice, it's about playing your role, it's about starring in your role.
Given the level of success you've enjoyed leading up to this, as you do these business endeavors, it sort of mitigates the stakes, right? It's not, if one thing goes south, it's not the end of the world. But the flip side of that is that you have a certain reputation and a certain aura that is associated with you, largely related to not losing. Do you feel that pressure as you sort of make these moves into spaces where you don't have that foundation?
No. Because I know, like, I lost a lot. Like, even in the NBA sense, I won 3 years. I lost 13. Like, I went home 13 summers, like, this sucks. So I understand that the reason I got those 3 wins is because of those 13 summers. And so as much as we want every deal to go perfect, and everything to be smooth, we don't really want that because we're not gonna learn nothing from that. And so I'm a person who likes to learn. And so I brace myself for the losses and things like that. But when they come, now it's like I feel alive because now I got something to shoot for. I got something to work for. That's who I am. So I don't mind a loss. I just don't want too many of them in a row. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier at 17, putting in your yearbook where you wanted to be at 37 and achieving it almost to a T. If you had to write down where you want to be in 20 years from now.
It's crazy because I'm still in the process of figuring it out. I lived the first 20 years of my life as this poor kid, right? Like from 0 to 20, it was rough. Like life was rough. And then the next 20 years of my life, from 21 to 40, I've been like this rich, famous person. I don't want to live this for the next 20 years. I don't want to be just rich, and I don't want to be famous, because famous is not what it's all cracked up to be. I just want to be remembered for the things that I've been able to do and accomplish. Hopefully the people I've been able to help and change their lives. And just living life and enjoying it and being healthy.